Aloha all. This is Samana with Unconventional Insights. This is my 10th podcast, and I'm calling this Fall Time is time for chemical peels. It's also time for cleanses, and I will pitch my cleanse at the end of this. But for now, let's talk about chemical peels. So again, I've been an esthetician for a few decades. And I believe it is more important to stay in integrity and have lifetime clients than to make that quick money and that's it. So this is to even those of you not in this industry, but as the consumer. If someone tries to talk you into getting a deeper peel, and I'll explain the difference of these peels, in the summertime when it's still hot, I wouldn't advise it, because even if you're a recluse and you live in your AC and you never come out for 2 weeks, it's still not advisable. Yet the fall, as it starts to get cooler, now mind you, today it is September 3rd as I'm recording this, and it's 102 out, so we haven't quite gotten cool yet, but I guarantee sometime this month it's going to start to get cooler. So why we need significant exfoliating. So all summer long, we're out in the sun, regardless if it's with sunscreens or face makeup or just the heat and perspiring and activities and the beach and everything that goes on with it, tacos and alcohol and wine. And in a sense, the reason to cleanse the body in the fall is very appropriate and encouraged universally, like again talking about Eastern medicine, how it's a perfect time to do a cleanse and clear out your colon and your liver and lungs and all that. But it's also a time to do a significant exfoliating. So we have different types of exfoliating. We actually have manual exfoliatings, and those are things like either like a home care that a person could do that has the little bits of like apricot kernels or something that's abrasive in the product, and you kind of move it around the skin and in a circular motion with a little bit of water, and it will actually help to remove any texture, usually through the forehead or the nose and the chin area, through the T-zone area. And another way of doing a manual exfoliating professionally would be either through microdermabrasion, which could be done crystal free with just the diamond tip, like a little steel head tip, or they have them with, which I love, the microdermabrasion with crystals. So they either have the corundum crystals, or now I sell this alternative machine. So any of you out there interested, I love this machine. It's $69.95. And I'm actually giving $200 off till the end of October for a fall special, because your clients will love this. So a little pitch on this alternative machine. This is a 3-part process. I usually charge $195 for this procedure. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to do all 3 steps, and it's incredible for any skin type except heavily acneic skin. I would not do this. But first, it has a non-abrasive, so the diamond tip that you will manually remove the texture. And then the second step has sea salt that actually goes onto the skin with a slight suction. So the suction helps to stimulate the collagen. And the sea salt, a nice, very thin trace, is left on the skin. And that's very good for inflammation. That's good for hydration. It's a very important mineral for the body. All humans and all bodies need sea salt to live well, to hold moisture in our skin and our body and all of that. So it's excellent. And then the third step, we put Heaven serums on the skin, and there's an oxygen facial, so it's actually 2-in-1. It's 3-in-1 in this machine. So it's a crystal-free microdermabrasion, it's a microdermabrasion with salt, and then it's an oxygen facial. So I put on 2 to 3 separate serums and do the procedure kind of slowly going over the skin with oxygen, and it forces it into the deeper layers of the epidermis so that the serum is nice and penetrated and hydrated, and the skin looks lush, and you see a slight trace of that little glistening sea salt, and you leave looking like beautiful and just glowing and yes, anyways, you look sun-kissed and beautiful. So, and then I recommend that clients come once a week. And if they do once a week for 10 weeks, which is what I ideally like, because they're actually repairing the skin each week, then I give them a deal on that where I'll actually do 10 for $1,000. So anyways, if you're interested in buying that machine, come to South Austin. I could train you, or I have sold this to people out of state in other places, and we'll just do FaceTime or Skype, and I will train you on your machine. And that's enough. So going back to manual exfoliating that we do in our professional treatment room. So another thing that we do is dermaplaning. So again, depending if that's legal in your state or not, dermaplaning is taking a little small scalpel and you scrape the skin. So it's manually scraping the dead skin away and the fine vellus or lanuga fur, that little peach fuzz. So it helps the makeup go on smoother, and it helps the skin serums and products to penetrate easier, and so many things. Now, through the years, the easiest way to sell a client on a significant professional exfoliant that we do in our treatment rooms, and for those of you out there as consumers, is that, I mean, I started out in Beverly Hills, and these women would spend $300, $500 in a pop just for skincare and products. And I would say to them, your skin has so much texture on it, you have so much dead skin cells on your face that it doesn't matter how expensive the serum or how good the products or concentrated they are, they're absolutely not going into the skin, so they're of no benefit to you. So to sell them on a series of specific treatments, either through peels or through the microdermabrasions or through microneedling or through dermaplaning or any of those things, if they want to really do a repair and see a difference, sell them on a series. And then their products will be more effective. They'll notice a difference in their skin because it actually penetrates better, and they use less products, so they're actually saving money in the long run. So that's another thing. Another reason why I am a fan of exfoliating properly, especially if you're in the sun. I am a sun worshiper. I was born laying in the sun and lived on Maui for 30 years and always said the beach was my second office, and I still love the sun here in Austin. So I'm not giving it up because I know the products, I know the treatments, and I'm going to stay young and I eat healthy. But I would say to people that skin cancer only attaches to dead, unhealthy skin. So that is a way to get anyone alert to know that they need exfoliating. If they feel their skin like on their nose or their forehead, or if you have men with balding or thin hair and they feel texture in their forehead and on their scalp, that's potential, or even on the tops of their ears, their nose, that's all potential to get skin cancer. So we want to eliminate that. I would do many male clients in Maui, and I'd do series of microdermabrasions where they'd come once a week for the 10 weeks, and they never ever had basal cell again. Like, it was eliminated because we kept their skin nice and fresh. So now, if you were to do so many times going to chemical peels, which we're going to start in that. So these are not manual, these are not chemical, but you can do a microdermabrasion or a dermaplaning or just a little scrub on someone prior to that, and then that's an upsell, so you charge more money for that, but it means the skin's going to be even cleaner for this chemical peel that we do. If you go into a doctor's office, they pretty much, that's almost guaranteed that they want you to do one of the deeper manual exfoliating before you do a chemical peel, so that's kind of their MO. So now, talking about the chemical peels, we have different stages of chemical peels. So one is just, you could have a type of, which they would call a chemical peel, but it could be something gentle. And that one, you put it on the skin. It could either be with steam or without steam, depending on the manufacturer and what you're using on the client. And it can be on anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to 15 minutes. And what it's doing is it's actually with the steam, and it's usually has some form of enzyme in it that it's breaking down dead unbonded cells, and it's dissolving them. And then we rinse that off when that's done, and then the skin is nice and clear and smooth and there's no texture there. So that has no, either minimal or no peeling or flaking at all. And those are gentle peels, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Now the next stage is you could do a peel, again, where it's one where you put it on with or without steam. And depending on the ingredients in it, that can cause more of a 3 to 5 day flake. We call it a flake, where the skin might flake or peel in certain areas that were damaged. Similar to like when you get a microneedling, that will happen afterwards. And that may peel. So I let the client know, if you get a little flaking for 3 to 5 days, don't worry about it. But it might happen and it might not. So the big dogs, and we can do these as estheticians, these are going to be a 5 to 10 day peel that they need a serious commitment. And I have them look at their calendar and make certain they're not going out on a boat, or they're not in any way going to interfere with the healing process needed for one of these deeper peels. And this is not a peel where you're going to a doctor's office and they literally can do a laser or such a deep obagi or some kind of peel where it peels all of the epidermis off, and you literally have vinegar packs, and that's 2 months, 2 to 3 months where your skin is still pink. That's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about, as estheticians, we do some deeper peels that are considered a modified Jessner type peel or self-neutralizing peel, and those can cause quite a significant improvement in the skin, yet you may have up to that full 10-day downtime. And I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. So when we're looking at what types of peels to use, so there's a term called AHA, which is alpha hydroxy acid. So that is a category of an exfoliant, and those are basically fruit acids. And included in that category, you may have heard the term glycolic. So glycolic was originally designed or created by or stumbled upon a dermatologist that was looking for cures for acne. And glycolic is actually a sugarcane concentrate, so it's sugar, similar to the fruit acids. And what it does is we have these various layers of our epidermis, and when we're very young, the layers between the skin are soft and pliable. So like when you're 3 years old and you fall and skin your knee, then it heals in like a few days, because that is pliable and fluid in between the layers of the epidermis. So it's very quick repair time. Now, as we get older, that intermatrix fluid, intercellular matrix, gets hardened. It's like cement. And so when we fall and skin our knee in our 40s or our 30s, it could take up to a couple of weeks to heal, because that's now cemented and solid, and it's not so pliable to repair itself. And for the cell rejuvenation, that ability has lessened as we age. So this dermatologist who came up with glycolic acid or fruit acids, that putting the glycolic on the skin, that it actually causes a softening of those layers between the epidermis to soften and be pliable as if it was when we were children. So it's a texture. Every time when a client either has a professional peel that has AHAs to a strong capacity or glycolics, they'll say, oh, my skin feels so soft. Or if you sell them a retail product that has AHAs or glycolic in it, they'll feel that softening of their skin, where the skin feels just nice and more lush and bonded. So those are wonderful. Now, there are pumpkin peels many of you heard of. So in my school on Maui, we used this pumpkin peel, where we originally started with wait a minute, A Natural Difference, I'm sorry, I couldn't remember the name. So it's a company called A Natural Difference, and this woman, Christine, was the originator of pumpkin peels. And that was an excellent pumpkin peel. And we used that forever in my school and my day spas. And then we switched over to a different manufacturer, which was head to toe, and we did a 20 and 30% pumpkin peel. And this one now had glycolic mixed in it. So these were not a flaking peeling peels, but they would come once a week and do a series of 6 or 8 of these, and they would see significant difference with no downtime. That's the plus of them. So with these peels, if you do them in a series that don't flake, the selling point is there's no downtime, but they're going to see a significant difference after that 4th to 5th peel, which is that 30-day transformational where we're reprogramming the mother cell. Listen to my other podcasts and you'll get that information. And so those are quite wonderful. So now the 2 lines that I use primarily now while I'm in Austin is Sanitas, which I love them, and we use them at the school up north that I worked at for a few years, and then also Glymed Plus. So Glymed Plus has an exfoliant that's called an intense antioxidant professional exfoliant, and that one has lactic in it, pomegranate, and the pumpkin. So it's a nice smell. It's wonderful to use in the fall, and people get all ready for the holidays and Halloween and Thanksgiving and all of that. So these are like perfect to like add to your holiday fall specials, something like that. So I'm going to talk about glycolic. So ideally, so this is my view of glycolic after 30 years of using it on all skin types. When this dermatologist originally designed it for acne and inflammation, he also found, but wait a minute, when I put it on older skin, it does soften the skin and helps keep the skin where it sloughs off gently, not like a retinol, but where it sloughs off gently and the skin's more pliable, so it can also be used for mature skin. But I would say too much glycolic will dry the skin out. So in my life and my career for my clients, I choose to use glycolic when it's a higher percentage of glycolic. I think in terms of if they have blemished skin where they're getting pustules or various breakouts, or if they have oily skin, I think anything in terms of glycolic is what I want to use on them. Now, if I get a more mature skin or I have a younger skin that comes in, but they need like a gentle exfoliant, or someone who's pregnant, I would actually use a lactic peel, a gentle lactic peel, not a high percent. Sanitas has a wonderful lactic peel that is a milk base, and Glymed Plus has one that's a tomato-based derivative. So lactic, every time I hear that word, I think in terms of nourishing and safe, and it's for all skin types. And if someone is pregnant or nursing, you can use lactic on them, and that is safe. Some of these other peels, I would advise to wait until they're done nursing and just be safe. And then we get into peels that are with the salicylic, if you've heard that. So salicylic is a aspirin derivative. It's usually a willow bark. And if a client has allergies to aspirins, you cannot use any type of a prep or a peel with salicylic in it because they will have a reaction. So I would use something with salicylic when I think of a skin that's inflamed. So again, breakouts, acne, pustules, salicylic is your friend. So you could always also use a lower percentage of salicylic as a prep for the skin. So now I'm going to talk about doing chemical peels, that when we do a chemical peel, we need to cleanse the skin and usually use a gel cleanser because it will cut the oil. We want the oil, it's called defatting the skin. We want all of the oils and the excess makeup and everything off the skin, and you most likely will do a double cleanse to really have that skin dry and clean. Then we still need to use a prep on it. So I'm going to tell you something, and again, this is my opinion. If you're following me, or any of you that have been my students for 30 years, you know me and my integrity, and use your own information mixed with mine and then make your own decisions. But old school, and there are still some doctor's offices that use this, and there was one school in Austin I worked at that when they did peels, they used acetone as a prep. And I refused to use acetone because it is not good for the skin. If you think, it's what we take our nail polish off. Like, I can't even be in a room when someone's using it to take their polish off because it's so toxic. And I would tell my students, look up, just Google, what are the contraindications, which means what are the negative side effects of acetone on your skin, which is your largest organ, which is how we take in at least 30% of the environment, and everything that's on our skin is taken in through the skin, through our pores, and now you're going to put acetone on there. I'm not doing that to a client. I'd rather have them long-term instead of using that. But, so on the simplest defatting product, you could use something like a witch hazel, or many of these lines will have a pre-treatment or a prep treatment specifically for peels. Now with Sanitas, they have what they call, one of their famous things is they have these, they're called glycol solutions. So that's what they use as a toner, but it's not like your everyday toner. They have a moisture mist. That's an everyday gentle hydrating misting toner you could use after cleansing or to spritz your face just to bring some moisture back on it and help your serums and all penetrate better. But this glycol solution is very much a star. So they have it in a 5, 10, 15, and 20%. And if you're going to get into some deeper peels, I'd highly recommend trying the 15% as your prep originally, because that will very much defat the skin, and it has a little like a sensation to it. So when you first use it on the client with the 15 or 20, it will have like a little tingling, like you could feel it's doing something. Now I use the 15 at night for myself, like after I cleanse my skin, and I'll use it maybe twice a week. But it helps to remove excess texture, because remember it's glycolic, but it's all done through, it's just a liquid. It's like a serum, and I love those glycol solutions. So that makes an excellent prep before a deeper peel. So Glymed Plus has some wonderful preps too. They have a AHA pre-treatment, and that's more for your oilier skin. They have a lactic pre-treatment, and that could be for any skin type. And then they have a couple of their exfoliators. So I did talk about the intense antioxidant professional exfoliant that had the pumpkin in it and stuff. They also have a AHA active exfoliator that has 15% lactic and 15% glycolic. And that one's a little stronger. Again, not a peeling peel. That one's not self-neutralizing. We do remove that, but that's a wonderful peel. Another one that Glymed Plus has is a lactic. They have a 30% and they have a 50%. So again, the higher the percent, the more concentration is in the formula, the more effective it will be. And depending on the skin types, those would be appropriate. So I'm going to tell you some of my favorites with Glymed Plus. So they have one called Chocolate Power Rescue Peel. That is heaven. Your clients instantly will love that, and I highly recommend getting some little high-end, at least 60% or higher cacao little chocolate bars that you give them when they're done after doing this, and make it all part of this little chocolate extravaganza. Like, this is another great one to do in October for Halloween, so you call it the chocolate treat because it smells like chocolate, and they right away love this. So in this Chocolate Power Rescue Peel, there's 50% lactic, there's cacao, there's resveratrol, and there's acai berry in it. So those are antioxidants and very nourishing. Heaven, heaven, heaven repair for the skin. I love everything about this. Anytime I use it on a client, they just perk up and their skin looks beautiful. So that's good for pigmented skin, that's good for dry aging skin, dehydrated skin, anyone. Star that, star that, star that. You definitely want to have that as a client, and you want to use that as a therapist. So a couple other things for those peels with Glymed Plus. So Let's see, they have some salicylic peels. So remember we talked about if someone has allergies, we're not going to use that, and definitely not on pregnant women. But they have a Salex peel that's a 20% and a 30%. And this is getting into self-neutralizing peels. So what self-neutralizing peels mean is you put the prep on, and that means where we're defatting the skin so there's no oils on it, and we wait till the skin is totally dry, and then we're going to put these self-neutralizing peels. So that could be this Sal X 20 or 30. This could be a Jessner. This could be a 5-berry, vitamin A, or TCA. And I will tell you between Sanitas and Glymed Plus what the different skin types, why they are. So what a self-neutralizing peel means is we did the prep, we dried, and we have our gloves on, and we have our little open mesh 2x2 gauze that we're going to dip into a little glass. I use those little those little tea candle holders. You could get those from Hobby Lobby, and I use those in my treatment room. And I put the product in there, and then I saturate that little 2x2 and squeeze it out, and then I apply that on the skin with deeper strokes in a horizontal direction. And whenever you're doing deeper peels for self-neutralizing, you always want to prep the skin by putting Vaseline around the lips and on the inside the orbital ridge of the eye. So you never want any chemical on those areas. And then each layer of a self-neutralizing peel, a lot of manufacturers say to wait 3 minutes. I actually make my students put their timer on their clock, on their phone for 5 minutes, because depending on the peel, you want to make certain it totally does its job and dries completely. Because if you add another layer on a peel before it's totally dry, you can cause deeper burns on the client, and you don't want to do that. So you can layer peels depending on what it is you're doing in between these 5-minute dry times. And what you're looking for is if you have your mag lamp on and you start to see little crystals that looks like in the morning when there's when there's fine snow out there and it has that little sparkly snowflake. If you turn on your mag lamp, you'll see this little, it's called frosting. And what that is that cell death. It actually killed the cells, so it's white and it's a frost. So any areas on the skin after putting that layer on and it totally dried that you see some patches of white of that frosting, then when you put the next layer on, you go in the opposite direction. So now we would do vertical with a little significant pressure to really cut into that interwoven part of the skin. And you want to make certain that you don't go over the areas that are already frosted. So I want to say something. If you're using salicylic as a prep or as a deeper self-neutralizing, salicylic has often casts this white residue that is not frosting. It's the residue of the salicylic. So that's where a mag lamp comes in handy to see, is this my salicylic residue on there? And I may sometimes take my gloved hand and gently just stroke that area to see if that flakes off, or did it already cause those cells to die? So discern between those two, and I know it's easier, and I highly recommend doing a hands-on chemical peel class. I'm just giving you this as I'm trying to give my students some free stuff out there, and then hopefully they come to me for counseling, they come to me for workshops, and they learn more. But a hands-on chemical peel class is happening, because then you get the demo, and usually what we do is we use different levels of peels. So we'll do a gentle peel, we'll do a moderate peel, and we'll do a deep 10-day flake peel that someone volunteers for, so you get to see exactly how it's done, and it won't be so scary, and you'll see how beautiful it is. And then usually we have that person send pictures every few days and then daily while it's really shedding, so we could see the difference, and it's quite beautiful. Okay, I want to get back to these peels now. So So another favorite peel of mine from Glymed Plus is 5-berry pigment peel. So 5-berry peel. So this one is, it has 7% TCA, and anytime I hear TCA, I know that's for hyperpigmentation, so that's for any discoloration on the skin. And then it has 5 berries in it, which is why it's called 5-berry pigment peel. This is also self-neutralizing, but the berries are antioxidants, so those are killing the free radicals in the skin and making the skin youthful, and they're also considered tyrosine inhibitors. So to know that word, tyrosine inhibitors, when you start working on clients with higher Fitzpatricks, so the Fitzpatrick scale is basically from 1 to 5, and many of us believe that there are halves. You could be a 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, and so on. It's not just so 1 to 5 anymore, but it means when you go in the sun, do you burn, do you tan, do you blister, all of that. So someone very pale and fair, perhaps a redhead or a natural blonde, and they look like porcelain skin, and if they ever go out in the sun at all, even with sunscreen, they just totally burn. That's a 1 Fitzpatrick. Where you have someone that has like a Latino background, like in Hawaii, it's a darker skin, so we have all of the Hawaiian skin is dark, so those are 4 to 5 Fitzpatrick, and that's very, very, very dark skin naturally. So the higher the Fitzpatrick, and for me, I'm a thoroughbred Italian, so I'm about a 3.5. Like I could go in the sun for 20 minutes and get color immediately. Like I tan very easily, and I always have, and it's always a golden, so I have like a golden undertone, that olive skin. Yet the drawback with the higher Fitzpatrick, so 3.5 and up, is that they have issues with hyperpigmentation, meaning they may be coming to you because they can't stand the dark spots on their skin from sun damage or from trauma of the skin in some way, so they want a peel or a series of peels. Yet at the same time, if they do one of these deeper peels, and when it starts to flake or peel, if they pull on fresh skin, because there's little bits that will be hanging off. It kind of looks like a science fiction movie sometimes. If they pull on their skin, they'll traumatize the skin and actually cause hyperpigmentation. So the higher your Fitzpatrick, the more chance you have of causing hyperpigmentation unless you do it right. So to have a retail of a tyrosine inhibitor so that it will help prevent inflammation, so the melanin in the skin doesn't get inflamed. I would do in Maui, I would do my series of, so I had a lot of East Indian clients, and I would do a series of microdermabrasions for their darkening skin. And then I would do this was one called Visual Changes, and it was called Fade and Firm Plus, and that was a tyrosine inhibitor, which again, it was self-neutralizing. I just put that clear liquid on their skin, and then they would just leave. And I would say at the end of the day, just, you could rinse your skin, or you could put a little moisturizer on it, and you're fine. And so that will just keep the skin from being inflamed. So, okay. Back to these peels. Another one Glymed Plus has is a vitamin A power peel. This is incredible. This has a 10% TCA, 10% glycolic, 5% retinol, which retinol is a vitamin A. Vitamin A is an antioxidant for the skin, so is vitamin E and vitamin C. We need these, for our skin and body to be healthy. Many people use retinol as a cream or a liquid at night, and it will help to slough the skin off. So I have seen clients and students use retinols with too high a percentage in it. So this is a retail we're talking about now. We're going to move away from the vitamin A peel for a minute. So when you use a retinol at home, I do not recommend using it every night. If your skin is red and flaking, it's actually irritated. And I have had students in my class, because they can afford these products now, using retinol, every single night. I'm like, your skin's irritated. Like, you need to give it a break. So I would have a client use a retinol if they need it to slough off dead skin or pigmentation or something, or sun damaged skin, that I'd have them use maybe anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week. But I don't have them use it every night. You never want a client to use a retinol every night where it's constantly irritated and flaking. The skin needs to be whole, so think in terms of that. And again, that's another retail to do. Now, Sanitas has 3 different types of retinols that they sell for retail, and my favorite is called the Rejuvenate because it's gentler. And I actually will sell that to a client before they do one of these self-neutralizing deeper peels to make certain, especially if it's their first time and we're not certain about their skin. And once they get all prepared psychologically that I'm going to do the 10 days to 2 weeks downtime and I'm ready for this, and they planned it in their calendar. And then if you do all these layers and they go through this and then it tightens and all this stuff happens and then they don't really get a good flake, they're going to be disappointed. So I actually sell them this Rejuvenate retinol and have them use it every night for 1 week before we do their peel. Then their skin is prepared and great. Now, other people's philosophy would have you stop using the retinol before they do a deeper peel, but it depends how often you've been using that peel. And again, like I said, if you come to me wanting a peel and your skin is red and irritated and flaky, I would tell you to stop using it before we do the peel because you've overdone it. And I'd give it a week without using that so that we can have a good response, if that made any sense. Okay, now other things. So vitamin A, that peel with the glycolic, the retinol, and the TCA, that's good for hyperpigmentation. That's good for sun-damaged skin. I did a teenage guy. He was 17. He had acne all over, was about to go into high school his last year. It was summertime. He was here visiting Austin. And I said, do you have about a week of flaking before school starts that you will do everything it takes and you won't pick your skin? And he was about a 2.5 Fitzpatrick, so he was kind of perfect. And we did this on him, and we did about 4 layers on it with a 5-minute drying in between. And then I told him, you're going to go on the plane, and your skin's going to feel really tight in the next day. And it's going to feel like it's going to be so tight that it feels like it's going to crack. And that's actually what it's doing because we're killing those dead skin cells. So it cracks, and then it starts to flake and peel, just like a snake does to get new skin. But again, we don't want to peel the skin off as it's coming. You could take a little scissors and trim it, but you don't want to ever pull that. And then you could take a gentle, like 3 or 4 days in, give them a little manual scrub that they could gently scrub that, but never deep scrubbing. I usually, when I do a chemical peel, I put in the price where they're going to come back to me within about 5 to 7 days so that I could do a gentle exfoliating on them to do it, to make certain they don't get any hyperpigmentation or any damage to it. So that's part I would recommend doing, that is have that where I could come back in 5 to 7 days after my deeper peel, so that let your esthetician do their stuff for you. And a final peel, well, there's 2 more to talk about that many of the lines have. So TCA is a long word. I don't even know the word. I know it, but I didn't write it down. So I just say TCA, and everybody in the industry does. Now, Sanitas has a wonderful 10% TCA. Now, the plus about TCA is you could use it on any Fitzpatrick, any even higher Fitzpatricks. It's perfect. And the whole point of it is it's for hyperpigmentation or discoloration of the skin. So it will give it a brightening, lightening, and it's smooth and it's wonderful. But again, this is going to be a layered peel. And then Glymed Plus has a 15% TCA, which is stronger, and I love that one also. Now, oftentimes when a client wants like damaged skin off and they have hyperpigmentation, I may layer it with some of the Jessner and some of the TCA, like in between the layers, waiting those 5 minutes, and then we could get up to 10 layers between the 2 if their skin doesn't frost in certain areas. So I think that's a wonderful way to go. So talking about Jessners, so a lot of people think that's the big dog. That's like the top of the line. But I want to warn you. So each of these different lines have a different percent of Jessners. So they're all called modified Jessners. And as legally that estheticians can use. So Glymed Plus, their Jessner has 14% salicylic, 14% lactic, 14% resorcinol. So I have found, because I was the demo one time, and I have mature skin, sun-loving skin, and they did a Jessner on me. I tell you what, it took 4 months for my skin to get the lipids, the oils, the hydration, my water and oil balance to come back. It stripped my skin of all the juice it ever had. So whatever it did, and I did everything I was supposed to for the repair and letting the 10-day flake. And so what happened was it felt tight. The next day it was feeling tight. By the 3rd day, I looked in the mirror and I looked like a horror movie. Like I had all these intense lines and I looked like someone like photoshopped me, and I was 20 years older than I am. I didn't even want to go to H-E-B, to the grocery store, because I looked so old and bad. And I was very self-conscious, and at that point, I didn't even know many people in Texas, and I still realized how vain I was, and I didn't want to go out. So that is the worst stage, in my opinion, vanity-wise, is like those 3 days after, before it actually starts to crack, just where it gets tight and it's all these lines. But then it starts to crack and peel in these areas, and I'll be talking to people, and it's just flaking off. Like I had to go in, and I was still teaching, and I was with clients, and I'd notice I'd move my head, and it was like dandruff coming off of my face. So it was just like, what is happening to you? Now, when you're in this industry, and most women are, even if I'm out at the grocery store and I will see them staring at me, and I'm like, I just did a chemical peel, and then I start selling them on, and then they're interested, and they're, oh, I want one of those. So it's easy to turn it into a conversation piece, especially when you're in the industry. Why not? You don't have to look a certain way. But anyways, and I believe that we should do things on ourselves to understand their abilities. But for myself, mature skin, I'm not a fan of doing Jessner. Now, if you want to layer it with TCA and Jessner, but maybe only do 2 layers of Jessner and the rest TCA, that's probably what I'd recommend. And that would be a nice, sufficient peel. Now, if you have clients that 100% they do not have the willpower to do the downtime and everything required, like not working out at the gym for a few days because you don't want excess, or exercise if they're tennis players or whatever they do, because you don't want excess heat and circulation in the face, because that could cause inflammation of the cells, therefore causing hyperpigmentation, which is the darkening of the skin. So it will do the opposite effect of what we want it to, contradict what we actually want it to do. So we don't want to do that. Let's say they won't do what it takes for this peel, and you know that 100%. Then I would recommend selling them on microneedling or nanoneedling. Now, in some states, we can only, as estheticians, legally do nanoneedling, and that's a smaller, you don't even need lidocaine, and it basically just aerates the skin. So it's not as effective. But microneedling, if you can do that legally, that is a deeper, so you have lidocaine on the skin for 20 minutes, you rinse that off, and then you put hyaluronic acid serum on the skin while you're doing these little fast needles that puncture the skin. So like you hear about these vampire facials, and that's what microneedling is. It causes these little blood spill, little bits on the skin, and it will force circulation. And then that in a few days can cause flaking on some areas of anywhere that it's damaged on the skin. But I have noticed, because I am such a fan of microneedling, such a fan, that I charge $195 for one, and that's a very good price, because it could be up to $600 for one. So look at it in your area, what they charge. And then I sell a series of 3 for $450. So now, If they won't do the downtime for the peels, for these deeper self-neutralizing peels, then have them do microneedling, because with microneedling, it's up to a 2-day downtime. Like, I will do my skin at night, so I worked out that morning, went to work, did everything. I come home, I do my microneedling, I go to sleep. The next day I don't work out. My skin is a little swollen. If it's red, I put a tinted moisturizer over it so you don't see the red. It just looks slightly swollen, but you have to really look at me close to notice that. And then by the 3rd day, you don't notice anything. So 2-day downtime, anyone could do that over a weekend or get away with a tinted moisturizer, and it's incredible. So how about all that stuff? Are we ready to change lives with our clients? I hope. Okay, so what do I want to finish up with? Okay, so if a client's spending this kind of money, and again, look in your area to see what people are charging for these types of peels. If it's a gentle, nourishing peel like a pumpkin peel, that's just fun and wonderful, or the chocolate power peel, or whatever it is, then know what they're being charged in other salons and spas near you, and like stay in that area. That range of price. And the same thing is you have to have a really detailed, here is your post-care, like so many people hear about it or they want it on a Groupon. I've had so many clients say, I want a Jessner peel, I want my skin to look new. And I explain to them what it takes. So there is some discomfort, like that night, the first night after a peel, even from microneedling or a peel. If it's a deeper self-neutralizing peel, there could be quite a bit of heat and itchiness and uncomfortableness, and I've had many people say they didn't sleep well. Now, they're better the next day, and then it starts its whole process, but you really do have to learn how to schedule these things in. So learn to listen to who your client is, or find an esthetician that you trust. Tell them what you're trying to achieve with your skin, and then let them know what you want and how they can help you best. So now I'm going to do some of my pitches here. So I have my cleanse, which starts next Monday online, and it's going to be a webinar. That's $250 for 4 weeks. It's a 30-day cleanse. Yesterday was my last day of my 30-day cleanse. I feel incredible. I lost 10 pounds, not that I needed to, but my eyes are so clear. I did my liver flush last night. I went and bought a tenderloin today and grilled it and had it chopped up on my salad with my greens, and I had some raspberries, and I had an avocado and a vinaigrette, and it was the greatest meal of my life. The only thing I've missed in 30 days was my steak. I do love steak. But I feel better than ever. My mind is clear. I feel inspired, and I look good. I feel good. I'm strong. So anyways, this cleanse online is September 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. That's from 10 to 1. It will be taped. If you can't do it online during that time, you'll have 48 hours that you could watch it after the recording. And if you're in the South Austin area, we're doing an in-house cleanse. I already have several people signed up, and that is going to be starting on Thursday evening, the 12th of September, and that ends on Thursday, October 3rd, so that's for 4 weeks. As soon as you pay me the $250, and you could email me or text me, and you could do Venmo, PayPal. There's so many ways you could pay me. I will send you my specific cleanse. I will send you your shopping list. I will send you the details of how the day looks, because I want you to start the cleanse before the first day of class so that you have something to report. And at any point, you could text me or call me and let me know what's happening. If you need any instructions on, okay, drink more water, take more vitamin C, and I do sell supplements for that. So first off, all of the products, I do sell Sanitas retail out of my home, and because I do treatments and various things on people. And then Glymed Plus you can get on my website, which is spaluna.com, spaluna.com. You could learn about all of my upcoming workshops. So October is a fun month for many great workshops. So my microneedling / nano needling workshop is October 7th, and that's going to be a Monday at 10 o'clock. That's $195. That includes the certificate, an hour of lecture, a demo, and then you're going to give and receive a treatment. So I will show you nano and microneedling, so it's legal either way. On October 14th, we're going to do microdermabrasion with oxygen facial. So I'm going to use this alternative machine. So any of you interested in purchasing that, that would be a great time to come and take that class, because you'll get $200 off your machine, and that's basically your workshop is free. So that's what that's going to mean. And that's October 14th at 10 o'clock. And then on October 21st, we're doing a dermaplaning class. Now, I only take 10 people in each class. So if you're interested in this, it takes a $100 deposit that you pay me to hold your spot. And you can pay the balance when you come to class. So spread the word on that, please. Listen to my other podcasts. And my last pitch that I'm going to say is my relationship architect workshop that I'm co-hosting with David Garrison. I am so excited about this. This is like a life dream coming true right now, is to find someone that's as great as he is and as balanced and equal with me, because I've been wanting to teach relationship workshops for 20 years now. So this one is called Become a Relationship Architect, and we are having a free open night on September 17th at 6:45. At my home. So the website will have where I live, and I've put many flyers up, and I've been advertising on social media, so I'm sure you'll see those. And again, we're only taking 12 people for that class, so that's recommended 40 to 65 in your age, 40 to 65-ish. I mean, if you're 30-something and you really want to do this, but this is for singles, and we're going to design a relationship contract, which David and I both did the contracts, and they were quite profound and defining, and I guarantee who you'll create is, I can't wait to get the testimonials of all these love of your life, that you finally created the perfect person in your life. So that's wonderful. And one of my my esthetician specials, so for counseling, for life coach counseling, I charge $100 for a session for 1 hour, or 2 hours for $150. So that's always available, and I do that by phone, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger, or in person if you're in South Austin. I've done that for many years. I'm excellent at that also. But I'm doing a special for the month of September, where if you're having some spiritual, emotional traumas that you're trying to get through, that we're going to do a counseling session where I'm going to create a Bach flower remedy for you, customized remedy, and that is basically for soul balancing. So it doesn't interfere with medication. Bach flower is flower essences. I've been doing these formulas for several years now. They work profoundly for me when I'm having challenging times, and it's customized, and we do a counseling session, and at the end of the session, I'm going to come up with I'll give you this little 4-ounce water-based tincture with these different Bach flowers in it, and then it will say, I'll muscle test, and it will say how many drops you take for how many days, and it will help you get through some things. So that one is $85. That's a great special. And also I am doing a Salternative, so that's that 3-part of the facial with the machine that I have, with the oxygen serums, the salt exfoliating, and then the diamond tip exfoliating. So that with the facial massage and the hand and arm and neck massage for $145. And that is $250, I think, normally. So that is my September specials going on here. And anyone who needs to contact me, 808-283-7587. And I've loved this time together, and aloha.